It's level 3 of the football playoffs and another edition of Preps Plus Extra. How you doing? I'm Mark Stewart, prep editor of the Milwaukee Journal-Sentinel. You know this guy, J.R. Radcliffe, sports editor of Now Newspaper and Lake Country Publications. What's up this week?
Well, I'm mourning the loss of Aaron Rodgers like the rest of Green Bay Packers Nation, so a little high school football to take my mind off of it is a nice way to go.
Yes, don't worry, he'll be back.
If you say so.
Yes. Maybe
in your medical
year.
Opinion, maybe next year.
No, just kidding, people out there. But yeah, just shifting gears here with week 3 of the playoffs, the big matchup that we had kind of been pointing to since the pairings came out. We finally have Homestead. We'll play host to Kimberly Friday night at 7 o'clock. Just obviously it's a big time matchup between two undefeated teams, but. What's your feelings just based on what you've seen in the playoffs so far?
I'm trying to figure out which game is going to be bigger for Homestead. But obviously, beating Waunakee last year was a big thing for them in the state championship game. Almost said national championship game. Arrowhead earlier this year in week 2, that was a really exciting battle between state champs. Homestead came away with that one. I think this game should be treated as just as big, just as monumental. Obviously, with the playoff implications, it makes it bigger. But the fact that Kimberly is truly a powerhouse program, these two teams could easily be playing for a state championship. Kimberly averages 50 points a game. They tore it up against some pretty good programs in the northern, sort of the northeast part of the state, in the Fox Valley, in the Valley Association. So this is a team that, honestly, I think you could go either way. You could flip a coin and say, which team do you think is going to win? They run some similar sets as Homestead, so Homestead gets to sort of play against themselves a little bit in practice and prepare as well as they can. Kimberly lost one of their top running backs, J.P. Pierenboom, in the final game of the regular season to a knee injury, but they've clearly not lost a step the way they racked up points against Cedarburg in level 2. I think this is truly one of the great epic matchups on paper in the playoffs, and to me, there's been no better game in the playoffs thus far, and I'm not sure if you're going to find a better one, even as we get into the championship games.
Yeah, the one thing I think about just from the Homestead perspective, because that's the team obviously we know better. I think last week's game, does benefit them when you're able to have a tight game in the playoffs, and you're not that there would be any lack of confidence, but just having a recent memory of knowing that hey, I can. We can make plays in crunch situations and really pull out a tight game. I think that helps you because this week presumably is going to be tight, and there are going to be some times where maybe in the fourth quarter you're going to players on both sides are going to have to make some really clutch plays. So that might help Homestead. Obviously, it's nice to be home and not have to make that hour and change trek down here. So it'll be interesting to see what I assume Kimberly's going to travel well. If there's one game that they should be going to,
this is the one.
Yeah, this is the one. Yep. So yeah, it's gonna be fun. It's one of those things like you never know. I have no feel of who might win that one.
Two big battles I think in level 3 this week. Obviously, all these games are huge, but there's that one, and then there's Catholic Memorial going to Monona Grove out in the Madison area. So they will be on the road facing an undefeated team, one of the best teams in the state. That also is going to be a big time clash and a great test for Bill Young and CMH.
Right. And last week, Catholic Memorial scored a big win over Pewaukee in the second round of the playoffs. We've got Bill Young talking about the victory and moving on.
Arrowhead is unbelievable. Wes is really good. McGuanago, it's a shame. You can be really a good football team, and if you don't play really well for 1 or 2 games, you're not going to make the playoffs. But if you can stay healthy, and a lot of guys talk about trying to win a championship. We're always talking about making the playoffs, and if that, make a run, and that's all we can do. And we're getting better.
Well, Bill Young hit on a very interesting and probably not unexpected subject. The Classic 8 is cleaning up in the playoffs this year. We thought that league was good, and the playoffs are really proving it. They got 4 teams: Arrowhead, Waukesha West, McGuanago, which obviously beats Sun Prairie last week, and obviously Catholic Memorial. Of those 4, do you see? Are we going to see all 4 of these teams next week, do you think?
We very well could. I think Arrowhead is still your favorite in Division 1. Waukesha West is a top seed in Division 2 and will be favored to beat Waterford in Division 2. McGuanago on a nice, I guess what you can call a Cinderella run, defeating the top-ranked team in the state in Sun Prairie, undefeated going into that battle, and they win 35-30 to get into level 3. First time either Oconomowoc or Mukwonago, they'll face each other. The first time they've been to level 3 for quite some time, so that's quite the matchup in Waukesha County. And remember, Catholic Memorial finished ahead of both West and Mukwonago in the Classic A conference standings, and Catholic Memorial playing smaller schools in Division 3. How can you not pick them to be a team that gets all the way to Camp Randall? This is quite possibly a better team in the regular season than the one that went to the state championship and won it last year. I think they really peaked at the end of the season last year, as all teams want to do. This one's just been consistently good throughout. I think Catholic Memorial has as good a shot as anybody to win a state championship.
Yeah, and those teams, the one that jumps out to me is Mukwonago. They have the unique opportunity of being able to beat both undefeated teams. There were two teams that were undefeated in Division I, Sun Prairie, which they beat last week, and then they have a chance to beat Oconomowoc this week. Dominic Szalskis, the Wisconsin recruit, had a fantastic game. If you're a Badger fan, you would have loved reading about just his individual efforts on both sides of the ball in that game. Mukwonago, when I look at them, their team, even though they have 3 losses, really 2 of those losses could have gone either way. They lost to West by a point, and I think they lost to Catholic Memorial by 2 or 4 points.
4, right.
14-10, I believe, in games that were decided in the fourth quarter. So you're really looking at a team that, even though that could have been seeded higher if they would have pulled out one of those games. So so that's going to be interesting to see, how what they can do there. Waukesha West, obviously. They gave us a little scare last week, going down 14-0 to Whitefish Bay, but then came back strong. So, yeah, like I said, they're, again, the playoffs are a time when conferences prove their worth. And again, hey, you got to tip your hat to the Classic 8.
How about Waukesha West going back to quarterback Drew Rhodes, who has been a defensive back all season, quarterbacked for him a little bit last year, and sophomore Connor Blount has been running the show this year. Struggled a little bit early, did Waukesha West. They went down 14-0. Rhodes comes in, his first quarterbacking duties of the year, and he leads them to the comeback, and they win 28-14 against Whitefish Bay. So nice to know you have that on your not necessarily your bench, but in your back pocket if you need it. I'm really also curious that Oconomowoc team had a big confidence boost win last week when their quarterback Canton Larson was out with a concussion. They were missing some guys on the defensive side of the ball and still found a way to beat a very good Middleton team. So they're riding high right now. This is the first time they've been to level 3 since they went to the state title game in 1987. So very galvanizing for that community and for the Mukwonago community, two communities that really love their football.
Right. And the big matches aren't just strictly in Division 2 or in the Classic 8. We got Franklin and Marquette, 2 teams that are used. They're quite familiar with each other from either playing each other in the regular season or 2 years ago. I believe they played each other in the regular season and the playoffs. They got a level 3 matchup down at Franklin. Any thoughts about that particular contest?
Buckle in for a long game because we got a couple passing offenses. 2 of the better quarterbacks in the area: Charlie Grief for Marquette, Sean McGuire for Franklin. A couple guys who are just racking up big time yardage totals this season. I couldn't give you. I would give the edge to Franklin just because I'm very impressed with their resume and feel like that's a team that's capable of now getting to Camp Randall. But it's absolutely going to be a great game as they all should be in level 3.
Yeah. I got a chance to see Marquette for the first time last week and. Against Badger, and what struck me was just, wow, their defensive line with Connor Sheehy, another Wisconsin recruit, and they got some other big guys on that defensive front that really make it hard to, 1, run the ball, and 2, just to control the line of scrimmage there. So, it's going to be interesting. Marquette's one of those teams where, in a way, I kind of think of them as a traditional Marquette team in that, they got Connor Sheehy and their quarterback Charlie Grief, but there are a lot of guys that just are good players that maybe just don't have the name recognition.
Sure.
And they've really just kind of put it together and had a nice season there.
And Franklin really had to pull it out at the end here against Kenosha Indian Trail in level 2. They scored late to get the win. I think 17-14 your final score. So they know they're going to have to do a little bit better, I think, against Marquette.
Yeah. And speaking of Franklin, we've got Franklin quarterback Sean McGuire after their victory over Kenosha Indian Trail.
What's it like?
Our O-line, man. They came to play when they needed to. And obviously that was a very, very good Indian Trails team, and I give them a lot of credit in the world, but our O-line, man, they were tested tonight against a very good D-line. I think the best we've seen this year. And, they're going to struggle against a team like that, but they stuck to it, and they really, at the end, that push was amazing. And on crucial plays, they came to play. And that's what our receivers did, and our defense played great. It was just an amazing team win.
Well, that'll wrap it up for this edition of Preps Plus Extra. For more Preps Plus action, be sure to watch me and Lance Allen every Sunday night on TMJ4. Enjoy the games.